Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1752, and today's date is December 28th, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Truth Slips Out. Deep State Central Bank Begin to Counter Patriots' Economic Plan. Now, before we get started, I wanted to talk about gold. Gold has been sought after, valuable, and highly regarded for thousands of years. Gold is still considered one of the safest investments on earth. Because of this stability, the IRS lets you use gold as part of your IRA or 401k rollover. Noble Gold are specialists in this type of product and have helped thousands of folks just like you to save for a happy and comfy retirement. If you would like to join them in that, call 877-646-5347 now and talk to the experts about how to get your gold IRA started, or go to noblegoldinvestments.com and start your investment in gold today. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, it looks like we are at the beginning stages where the deep state, they're going to be pushing their agenda along with the central bank. They're all one and the same. We know that Trump and his team, they've been controlling the narrative. They've been contradicting the Fed, pointing the finger at the Fed, and eventually they're going to be going after the Fed. Now, the deep state, they know this. The central banks around the world, the Rothschilds, they know this. They know that Trump, the Patriots, they will be coming after them. Now, what they're doing is they're trying to make sense and figure out a way to blame all of this on Trump's economic policies. It's a little difficult because Trump has improved the economy statistically, just like the central banks and the deep state have in the past. And the stock market, he's been able to keep that moving up and up and up. Yes, it bobs up and down, but pretty much it's pretty stable. And they don't know what to do. Now, they were trying to use tariffs against him. Now, we know that Trump and Xi, they're going to be meeting in January. And once they sort out this deal, that entire tariff narrative disappears. So we need to start thinking about this and start to think about what the deep state is going to try next, because they are now pushing their agenda, which we're going to be talking about in just a little bit. But first, I wanted to talk about what is happening in the economy right now. The actual economy behind the scenes, behind all the statistical information, behind the stock market, is completely falling apart. It's not Trump's fault. It's the central banking economy, which was never meant to last this long. The central banks, they created this economy. It is blown up. It is basically destroying itself by the weight of the debt and what they have done since 1913. So Trump is trying to keep everything together right now and show the deep state and the central banks that the economy is doing great right now, even though in the background, which we've been monitoring for a very long time, way before Trump became president, we've been noticing that certain things are starting to completely fall apart. Now, since the Fed has been raising rates, we've been noticing and analyzing that the destruction of the economy is accelerating. I mean, we continually look at homes. Very, very important. The middle class, they own homes because this is where most of their wealth is. They take out loans. They hope their houses appreciate. As they get closer and closer to retirement, they go ahead and they sell their homes and they downsize to something smaller. They take the profits. They might invest it someplace else. But this is very important because if the American people don't feel like their homes are gaining value, well, there's a problem. People will not go out and spend. People will not think that, they have wealth. And what we're seeing over a very long period of time is that the housing market has been propped up. They've created these bubbles, and now the bubbles are popping. We're seeing them deflate, and eventually they're going to pop. We know that new homes, existing homes, they've been declining. Pending home sales, they dropped again in November, sliding about 0.7%. They expected a 1% increase, but the opposite is happening. Now, when we look at this, we see that in the last 6 of the 8 months, we've seen a cumulative loss since March of 5.9%. And this is 8.9% annualized, which we've seen this decline, which means we have a major problem. Now, we haven't seen this big of a annual drop since April of 2014. And we've been watching the housing market very, very carefully. We've been watching the retail market very, very carefully, because these are the indicators of what people can do. Now, I know there's reports out there from MasterCard and the Retail Association saying that this holiday season was great, but you need to remember, people who are continually purchasing using debt, it will never get better for them, because these bills, they will come due. And once they come due, many people are going to have a very difficult time paying these off, because they're spending money they really don't have. And once they miss one or two payments, the credit cards, they just come in, they swoop in, and they raise the rates very, very high, which makes it even more difficult for these people to pay off the credit cards. And then you see delinquencies and things like that. But of course, the news never talks about that part of it. And we need to remember that most of these people have low-paying, part-time jobs because they lost their high-paying jobs. We have to remember the central banks, they were creating this economy for something completely different. Trump right now is trying to reverse everything, and time is ticking down. And you're going to see Trump move faster and faster to try to make these deals, try to make sure that the economy is stable for when we go through this transition. Now, what's very interesting, on CNBC, there were an interview going on between a USB expert and the panel on CNBC. And Sarah Eisen said something very interesting. She kind of slipped up, and the panel kind of laughed at her to try to cover it up. But she went on to say that the Fed, because of QE 1, 2, 3, and the rest, the Fed actually propped up the stock market. Take a listen.
But everybody agrees that it propped up the stock market.
No.
No?
I mean,
in the sense that propped up the market?
In the sense that it conveyed that the Fed was very serious, right? It was a signaling tool. It was a signaling tool that we're going to keep rates low till the economy recovers.
Now we can see when you listen to this, people laughed and they said no, and they said this was a signal, and what you're saying is not true. And she just looked like, wait, what's going on here? And we can see that during this whole entire time of all this easy money and everything else, where they're creating currency out of thin air, the government is borrowing like crazy, they were propping up the market. The market is completely manipulated. I mean, if we look at the last couple of days, we can see how manipulated and how much control the Patriots have over the market. And we knew that this was coming. We knew they were going to continually push the market up. Now, are they going to bring it up to 30,000, 50,000? Most likely not. I'm thinking they're going to try to keep it at an even playing field right now, and they're going to worry about getting the U.S. and the people ready for this major, major transition. And as we move into 2019, we're going to start to see Trump accelerate his attacks on the Federal Reserve System. And we're already seeing it, just like we reported yesterday in the Aspen Times, where they're already writing pieces about the Federal Reserve. And more people are going to come online to talk about the Federal Reserve. I'm already starting to see it in alternative media. We're going to see this start to happen in the mainstream media, on the outliers, not the major corporation ones like, MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, and all the rest. But eventually what's going to happen, people are going to start to wake up. And that's the whole point of this. But we do see, and this is coming out of CNN, that they're trying to figure out a way to blame all of this on Trump's economic policies. And this is the headline of this article. Trump's misplaced economic policies could sink the U.S. economy next year. Now, if you notice, the mainstream media has been out there telling us that we're heading towards a recession, that everything doesn't look good, the housing market and everything else. So in 2019, 2020, we might see a recession. think about what they're doing right now, because normally they don't do this. Normally they go along with what the Fed is saying. And if you remember back to 2008, they were talking about how everything is contained, that there is no recession, the Fed has everything under control. And there were those individuals, and if those people saw The Big Short, they were looking into this saying, wow, there's problems here. I mean, these subprime securities, there's something wrong. Most of the people in these subprime security packages, they're defaulting on their mortgages. How could they be rated AAA? Now it seems like it's the opposite. They're building this narrative that we're heading towards the recession, and now they're putting out articles that it's because of Trump's misplaced economic policies. And when you read this, and part of this, they're trying to make sense and trying to figure out a way to blame this on Trump. And this is part of the article. President Trump's misplaced economic policies will significantly diminish the economy's prospects in the coming year, but it is the political chaos he is creating that could do it in. In just the past few days, he has attacked the Federal Reserve's independence, shut down parts of the federal government, and ushered out his administration a string of senior officials and aides. Then there are the looming investigations, which appear to be coming to a head into a long list of the president's potential misdeeds. It is no wonder that the longest bull stock market in the nation's history is now at risk of dying off. To be sure, the stock market is not foolproof leading indicator of a recession. As you can see, they're bringing in everything they possibly can to show how this economy is going to fall into recession, and they're trying to use it to blame Trump. Now, what is Trump going to do? What is the Patriots going to do? First of all, the investigation that's coming to a head is going to go nowhere. So that's not going to help them at all. Trump attacking the Federal Reserve's independence, well, Trump is pointing the finger at the Federal Reserve, saying that they are responsible if the market comes down. Now, is Trump going to allow the market come down right now? No, he has full control. He has the magic wand. As the Fed raises the rates, he's going to continually point the finger. They raised the rates, the market came down. They raised the rates, the market came down. See what he's doing here. Remember, he has the magic wand. He's showing every time the Fed does something, it affects the rates. Trump, on the other hand, is going to be saying, listen, unemployment, GDP, the deals I'm making with China, they're going beautifully. We removed the tariffs. Everything's great. But look, every time the Fed raises the rates, the market comes down. And guess what he can do? Because every time they raise the rates, he can make the market come down. So that whole attack against the Federal Reserve independence is going to switch around and go the other way. People are going to say, well, wait a minute. I see a correlation now. Every time the Fed raises the rates, the market goes down. The Fed must be doing something. And people are going to start to wake up because he's going to force the people. And what is the mainstream media going to do at this time? Well, of course, they're going to try to explain this. They're going to try to explain why the market's going to come down, why it's happening, but they're going to fall short once again. The Patriots are completely in control of what is going on here. The central bank, the deep state, they're trying to grab at anything they possibly can to explain why this economy is going to go into a recession. Trump is going to take control of the narrative. He actually already has control, but once he starts accelerating his pointing of the finger at the Fed, he's going to take complete control. And the central bank, the mainstream media, the deep state, they will not be able to say one word about what is going on here, because the people are going to start to understand what is going on, because they will see the correlation. So get prepared, get ready. We are going to go through this transition, but it's going to be blamed on the Fed. And as we go through this transition, they're going to try to make it as a soft landing as possible. But on the other side, things are going to be getting a lot better. Remember what Q said. There's going to be a structure change. The Fed is going to be brought down with gold. This is not something they just came out and said the other day. This has been in the works. The planning has been in the works for a very long time. They know exactly how they're going to bring down the Fed. And this, what we're watching right now, which is the show, this is all part of the show. And you're going to see this accelerate. It's going to get nastier before it gets better next year and going into 2020. So get prepared, get ready, because we are there. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.